Now let's get into the structure and execution of the one campaign ad account. Now, we went over this before, but I'll bring it up one more time. Our ad account can look like this. 1, winner's ad set. 2, dynamic creatives designed to produce post IDs to work in that winner's ad set, to ultimately bring us to a total of 3 to 5 active ads within that ad set. And then more dynamic creatives ultimately run while sunsetting the ones that are currently live to make room for them, so that we have better options of where Facebook can spend their money. And we do all of this in a CBO environment. Now, the structure here is fairly simple, and there's a big reason for that. We don't want to be testing 10 things at once. Do you want a really good answer with extreme confidence rather quickly? Or do you want to be testing a bunch of things and then chase the winner on very low data sets and worry about having any confidence in the success at all? The point here is, the fewer variables you have in a test, the higher confidence you can have in the output of that test. If here our test is basically, we have a control environment, our winner's ad set, and then we've got 1 or 2, because you don't even need to be running 2, 1 or 2 dynamic creative tests, assembling, following the 3-2-2 method, no more than maybe 12 to 20 max possible iterations of ads. Now, that's ultimately maybe 24 to 40 additional ads that we're running alongside our winner's ad set, but we all know that the delivery there is not going to be even. We're going to get a fairly hyperbolic distribution among the best possible iterations of those elements. Because remember, every ad is just another web page in Facebook's environment. When we use dynamic creative, that web page is reactive and adapts to each user's needs. And it collates the information from all of the users to ultimately produce the best possible blended output. Our goal is to make sure the best possible blended output for Facebook's business objectives also meets our own. And so the point here is ultimately, we're not trying to hack the machine. We're trying to do the best we can to set up the machine to do all the work for us. Now, chase this down. If you truly believe in interest groups and post IDs and ABO, basically 2016 version of Facebook that has been all empirical evidence says you shouldn't be doing it. If you truly believe in that, then you also have to understand that when you extrapolate that out to the nth degree to understand scale, you're going to start running into a limitation on resources with regards to time, money, creative, the ability to take insight, and the ability to make sense of an ever-growing volume of variables and an ever more complex system. And if you ever want to take a day off, you might go out of business. The point here is, that is the logical conclusion of that thinking. Now, first off, that is extraordinarily undesirable. Second, that's actually not even how you get the best result. And third, that's an incredibly inefficient way to run your business. Now, if you want to run any business and think of your ad account as a business, you have to get really good at understanding, how do I scale the value of my time? It's not about you doing more work, but the work that you do producing a greater force multiplied effect. How do you make the machine stronger and stronger and smarter to do more and more work that doesn't require you at all? That's what Facebook is designed to do. I know, because I work with the engineers to help build it. the point here that I ultimately want to get to is we're going to be focusing on using an CBO situation. We're doing that with a control environment and up to 2 dynamic creative testing environments. This allows us to, that follow the 3-2-2 method. And this allows us to, A, have extreme insight into why money is going to a certain place. Also, the net output of that effort. For instance, if you've got 10 ad sets, or for that matter, even 10 ads, and that ad set does well today, great. If that distribution isn't the exact same tomorrow and the next 14 days in a row, do you have any idea what action you should be taking? Or are you just going to say, well, this thing got most of the spend most of the time. I think that one's going to be good, but this other one was way more efficient. I'm going to grab that one too. And now you're making human judgment calls. And you can be dead wrong. Because maybe Tuesday was really good, but Friday was terrible. And somebody left a bad comment on Saturday. And now you're looking at the results on Monday morning and have completely inaccurate read on the data. And you also have no ability to understand that because you have way too many variables going on and you're not running with a control environment. So you don't even know how these things play out in the real world. One of the reasons that we use a CBO with multiple DCTs, and those DCTs have to earn the spend against our control environment, is so that we know not only do these things work well in a test, that test is being evaluated against a baseline. When we have a test campaign and a scale campaign, all we know is what got lucky in the test. And then we risk the entire business with our scale campaign to understand if that thing that got lucky was actually any good. That's a terrible way of doing things. As a matter of fact, if you were to set that up as a scientific study, no legitimate paper would ever publish it because you're violating the scientific method. Actually, the only time you start the scientific method with legitimate, earnest, is when you put that winner into your scale campaign and risk your entire business on it, which is a terrible way of doing things. Don't heavily invest in unproven assets. Nobody should ever do that in any facet of business. The execution is fairly simple. We have a control environment of hopefully 3 to 5 ads. Mind you, that 3 to 5 ads is the right number if you're spending $100 a day or if you're spending $50,000 a day. And believe me, I've done all of that for years. And it basically still holds true. Now, the execution here is our dynamic creatives, they have a life goal. Their life goal is to produce new ads for our winners ad set. Their life goal is to produce post IDs to use in our control environment. That's it. Once we are running those tests and we feel confident in the projectability of the outcome, then we can declare that test over. Your test should never run to the Gregorian calendar. Do you think the scientific method legitimately cares about time? Do you think the scientific method actually gives a damn about how some rich people in Italy decided to arrange the way of putting time on a piece of paper according to the movement of the sun? Of course not. So when that test is over, you take the ad out and you put it in your control environment. If it's good enough, get rid of that ad set and you launch a new one. That's really the execution to all this. It's not that hard. And sometimes you don't need to touch something this week. Sometimes you don't have to do any work at all this week on Facebook. I hope that makes sense. And if you have any questions about this stuff, please, again, feel free to comment below with them. Feel free to subscribe, ring the bell so that you make sure you don't miss any of this stuff.